All right. We are back at Grit Won't Quit Studio in Belmar today, and we have a guy who's been on the podcast before. For everyone who watches the podcast regularly has seen him at least twice. Today's going to be his third time on. We have JT Hazelet. He was our first guest who wasn't a Wingman employee, although he is a former Wingman employee. Therefore, I like him more than others, and I let him come back on more than others. So, what's up, bud? How are you?
How are you, Tom? I'm good, and thank you for having me back. I appreciate it.
You bet. So
I always jump on the opportunity to.
You saw a cancellation yesterday. Someone had COVID.
Yeah.
The 12:30 became an 11:30, and then I was able to get you back in for 12:30. So here you are.
It worked out. Yes,
I'm
sir.
glad you came in. I saw your dad a few weeks ago. Always great to see him too.
Yep.
So what's going on at Hazelet Realty Group?
Just dealing with the climate of the market. We're dealing with the lawsuit changes that went into effect in Jersey on the 1st.
And that's that NAR, right?
Yeah, the NAR lawsuit.
That, if I remember from when we did all those real estate forums,
right?
It's how agents can charge the buyer, right?
Yeah, so it's basically just how agents get paid. And,
okay.
The lawsuit was centered around more transparency to sellers and buyers, and because the lawsuit actually started because a person who was selling their house or a couple that was selling their house didn't understand that when they paid their selling agent that he was paying out a buyer's agent. So they didn't know or understand that, and that's what started the lawsuit.
That's what started this lawsuit?
That's what started the entire lawsuit. And the craziest thing about it is the original family who started the lawsuit was explained. It's like a general contractor. So if you were going to hire somebody to remodel your house, you're going to pay the general contractor, and the general contractor is going to pay the plumber, the electrician, the drywaller, all of those things, and you don't care what he pays them because you paid the GC.
On an agreed upon rate.
On an agreed upon rate. And he paid out everybody else out of his money.
Yeah.
Right.
So what's the problem?
Well, originally, that was the problem, was that they didn't understand.
But I don't see the problem there.
There is no problem. That's
if I sign a contract with you that says you're going to charge me 5% to sell my home, 5% is all I'm in for. So whatever my home sells for times 5% equals JT's pay.
That's
JT now has to pay all the people that are in the process. So if you advertise, and you have to pay the advertising bill. If you do Facebook ads, you got to pay Facebook. If you pay a broker to bring the deal, if you do it a referral, you would just
pay it out.
So what's the problem?
Good question. So that's what started everything. That original couple, once they were explained how it worked, they actually backed out of the lawsuit. But at that point, it was too late. It was already a class action. And
now, let me ask you a different question. Where were these people located?
I think in the middle of the country, like Wisconsin.
Oh, it wasn't in New Jersey.
It wasn't even in New Jersey, no. Word. It was somewhere in the middle of the country and snowballed into being a nationwide thing.
Wow.
Which was definitely crazy. And realistically, nothing even changed with the lawsuit because everybody thinks changed is that now you can negotiate and that you don't have to pay out a buyer. But realistically, you've always been able to negotiate your commission. There's never been a flat rate commission or a standard commission, and you've never had to pay out a buyer or a buyer's agent.
But you're going to have a problem. If you don't pay the buyer's agent, they're not going to bring buyers to the table.
Right. I see the problem because I work with a lot of first-time buyers, and I already see, as is, a lot of first-time buyers struggle to come up with the money for their down payment and their closing costs. That's why we have to get creative with seller concessions, down payment assistance, things like that. So now to say to a buyer, you're going to be responsible for an additional 2 or 3% of your purchase price to pay your agent, it's going to probably price a lot of the buyers either out of the market or prevent them from buying your house.
So now, let's play a scenario here.
Right.
Somebody's selling their house in brick for $450,000.
Yeah.
It's probably the average in brick.
Give or take, yeah.
Give or take. So they're paying $450,000. So they agree to pay the seller's agent.
Yeah.
Now, like 2 or 3%.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. So they would agree to the seller's agent to pay 2 or 3%.
Now, if you're the seller agent, could you say, "Give me 5%"?
I could say whatever I want to. I could say, give me 30%.
And in that 5%, you can just pay the buyer's agent.
That's typically how that works. Yeah.
But that's how it worked in the old days. But now in the new days,
I just have to disclose to them, and I have to say,
I'm going to give up to 2.5% to the buyer.
Right. So the way that we are navigating it now is we've been explaining to the seller, like if I was selling your house, I say, hey Tom, my fee to sell your house is 3%. What do you want to pay out the buyer's agent?
Yeah, and the people that aren't going to do that, they're going to see less people come into their house. Like,
Absolutely.
it's almost like for sale by owner. For sale by owner has never been successful in my mind,
Right.
because there's not enough draw to that place, because the agent who's going to show people houses and the person who's going to say, hey, here's 6 houses to look at, isn't going to put a for sale by owner FSBO, because they're not going to see a commission. So same thing here. Like,
Absolutely.
it seems bizarre to me.
It honestly is, and I know you know real estate a little bit, so you have a better.
I know more than a little bit.
Yeah, you do know. I know. I'm you know what I'm saying. But for the majority of people, they don't have the ins of real estate the way that you do.
If anyone
So
has a question that you're selling for or buying for, have them just give me a call, because like it makes to me it's such common sense that again here it's like saying it's marketing, right?
That's exactly what it is.
It's really marketing. So if you say, it's like when people build a website and they're like, oh, I don't need any marketing, and then they call me 6 months later and say no one's come to the site. Of course no one's come to the site. If you don't do SEO or paid search or social ads, you're not going to get anybody to the site.
it's just there.
It's just there.
Right.
It's the same thing here. If you want to say, look, give me the 2.5%, 3%, because then I can get buyers in the door.
Absolutely. It's like, and think about it from, and for the sellers, I ask them to think about it like a buyer. So if you're going to go buy a house, would you rather buy the one that you have to pay the extra 2 or 3% for your buyer's agent, or the one that you don't have to pay your buyer's agent out of your pocket? Which one, as the buyer, are you going to choose?
Yeah.
You're probably going to choose to not have to pay the 2 or 3% out of your pocket, because on the $450,000 house, that's like $9,000.
Yep, fair. Listen, I get it.
Right? I think that's
I understand this. I can't even believe that it was a lawsuit. I can't believe, and again, there's more details. I don't want to.
Of course,
to the NAR, I'm not downplaying this. I'm sure that you guys well thought this out, but to me, it just seems like bring as many people to the table as possible.
Right.
The more people that are there, you're going to find the buyer.
Absolutely.
And that's part of what's been how real estate's run for as long as I know it.
Forever. That's how it's always been. But for the
go.
people in charge, I guess they wanted to.
Saw a new way.
They saw a new way. Exactly.
Now, Pete, did that just from your just perspective? Are agents upset about this? Are they dealing with it? Are they getting out of the game? What's going on?
I think at the moment it's a little early to tell. There's been a lot of misinformation or information that's changed.
Okay.
So there's still a lot going on, and the changes are just happening now. So we're just seeing how people are dealing with it. So I don't think we've seen anybody leave the business yet.
Yeah, but
you can see that it's definitely a hurdle that people are going to have to.
Your business
figure
is
out.
a challenge. I know that you said everything's going well for you, which I love, and I'm your biggest cheerleader. If you didn't know that,
I do, and I appreciate it.
But it's a tough business for you right now. You still have higher interest rates. Yes, they're coming down.
Right.
You still have a low inventory, especially in Monmouth and Ocean County where you
Definitely,
work.
yep.
I mean, again, the crazy thing about Monmouth and Ocean is people from North Jersey want it. People that live in Monmouth and Ocean want it. People from New York and the boroughs of Staten Island and Brooklyn and New York City and Manhattan want it. So
The snowbirds want it, right? Everybody.
And you have a lot of second homes here, so it's even harder because it's not everybody sold their home somewhere else and they want this, and then other people want to be year-rounders here. This is a very tricky area to do work. I see it, even when I bought my house a year and a half ago, there was 4 other offers on it, and
right.
At the same time, and thank God I had a good agent in Hazelet Realty Group that he pushed through the noise and got the deal done. But
Yes,
I mean, it's a tough. If you didn't, but again, to that point, I had a buyer's agent who was on my side and told me, do not do this, do this, do this. This is when the offer's got to go in. This is what we want to, but I had someone that was advocating for me.
Absolutely.
To me, that's worth it. And again, if I had to be if I had to pay the buyer's agent, to me, it's worth it. But I understand these younger guys, these 25 to 35-year-olds that are it's $9,000, and I 1,000% agree and understand that at 25 and 30 years old, I probably would have said no. But knowing what I know about real estate and knowing what I know about the experience of the agent or broker means a lot to the transaction.
Absolutely.
And I think that also one thing that might happen in this is you kind of get out these weekend warriors.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely on the horizon. because one of the major hurdles that we have, and the Weekend Warriors are famous for relying on lead services like Zillow, Realtor.com, and right now there's a lot of trouble with those because of one of the changes that they implemented is the buyer agency agreements. We have to, before I can show you a house, I have to have an agreement signed with you. And the agreement has to say where I'm showing you houses. It could either be specific to a house
or like
an area. You know, I just typically put New Jersey, but you know, it also has to say what the commission that you're going to pay. So think about it. If you're going on Zillow, and everybody knows how Zillow works, you click a button, contact me, you get a random person to call you, and then they say, hey, the first thing that we talk about is, what are you paying me?
Yeah.
That's an uncomfortable conversation for everybody involved.
Oh, yeah.
And we see on Zillow, the Zillow leads one are way down. Like, we're not getting as many as usual, and I think that the market itself sees that there's issues with Zillow, and I think that realtors are kind of pulling back on Zillow at the same time.
But I think that it really kind of makes you a local guy that can do even better work. And it sounds like from what you're doing great work. But like, I think that's going to just improve upon your localness and being the chamber guy and being the guy who's on podcasts and the guy who goes to networking events. To me, like, that's going to make you shine. Like,
absolutely. And honestly, that's how
you're going to pull ahead.
That's how I've been trying to think about it the entire time. I didn't see it as a challenge. I saw it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think somebody smart told me one time, when you see everybody go left, start to go right. And that somebody was Tom, if you guys didn't know.
You know, but like, you got to like double down when like, and you know, I think your dad lives by the same kind of rules as that too. Like, you got to double down when everyone's scared. Like, that's the time to just keep pulling ahead and not backing off, not taking your foot off the pedal.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to put the pedal to the floor. And
it's like, and I think that guys are scared. I think that guys are scared because, you know, if you're in it for the long, and it's easier said than done. Let me not say that it's the easiest thing. But if you're in it for the long, a little roadblock isn't going to hurt you. That little dip isn't going to. Yeah, are you going to feel a little pullback? Are you going to feel a little you tight? Yeah, a little bit tighter pocket. Sure, but if you're in it for the long and you're doing the right thing, it's gonna work out because you're gonna get the Weekend Warriors out of the game. I don't think that they're gonna survive in the game. I don't think they can. Right. You know, again, this transparency. But I think you have to figure out a way that you could also just be straight up honest with these people too, and say, look, if you're a buyer, this is what we got to do because the rules change. Like, again, it is what it is. Like,
absolutely, and it's just one of those things that you have to do at this point. It's even if it's uncomfortable or whatever the case is.
And some guys aren't comfortable enough to have that conversation. Like, hey, this is the rules change. This is what we got going on. Right. This is like as long as you can be comfortable with that.
Right. And a lot of people are, and the issue that I'm seeing right now, even within our office, is people are afraid to say, I'm not sure yet. Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of respect that gets gained when you can sit down to a client and say, hey, there's changes going on that are actively happening. And how specifically they all play out, I can't necessarily tell you. Well, but I can tell you what it looks like right at this very moment. You know?
I think you have an opportunity. I'm going to give you some free advice today.
Thank you.
I think you have an opportunity. If I were you, I would be, and you utilize the social networks, but explaining this on video to people because I think when they see your face and they see who you are and they know you and they learn a little bit about you, like, you're not BSing them. You're not telling them some line of garbage that's not actually true. You're literally telling them, look, the game is getting changed as we're playing.
Absolutely.
You know, in the third inning, the game could change. I'm going to give you the most up-to-date, transparent information as I can today, knowing that down the road we might have to adjust. And you know, I think if you're willing to pivot with them and make changes as you go, it just shows your integrity, shows who you are, and shows that you're going to get the job done. Yeah,
I agree, and thank you for that. And that's really how I try to envision my entire business. I don't like to be the transactional realtor or anything like that. I like my goal isn't to just help people buy or sell houses. My goal is to help people build wealth, and that's real estate is one of the best avenues to do that. And so anytime that I'm working with somebody, that's in the back of my mind is I'm trying to do what's best for them, not always what's best for me or
and what's
whatever
best for you in the first situation might not always be the best, but you also once you gain someone's loyalty and trust, and
for sure.
I mean, I think that the long game plays, and you know, I can't wait to sell all my New Jersey real estate and then just retire. I mean,
Right,
that's
yeah.
gonna be a great day.
That's a great, that's a great retirement
I
plan.
the building in Manasquan, when I bought that, it was a knockdown. I mean, and now it's
You just completely renovated it, right?
completely
Yeah.
renovated. It's updated.
You even did the shed in the back?
No, that's still kind of it's cleaned up, but
Right.
new garage door, some updated siding repairs, but other than that, it's still
I got
still a
you.
warehouse. But I just think like the next person's gonna come in and be like, let's go.
They're gonna love it.
They're gonna love
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
And you saw that even with that place next door, that Lee Battery was. The
Right.
guy was older. He had a building that was way too big for him. Back probably in the 70s and 80s, he probably was
Perfect,
the man.
right. Yeah.
But as he got older, and then the guaranteed service guys came in and just did a completely beautiful job. Adam and Helmy came in and just made it beautiful. And from what I remember on 70, like when I first 6 years ago, I had Lee Battery, and then I had the Crossroads building. Now you have the guaranteed service and the Wingman building, and they look totally different. Like
Absolutely.
one day I should do we should do a Facebook post with them and do a before and
Before
after,
and after.
of both the buildings on 70. And now the third building, there was 3 in that trifecta. The third
Yeah.
building's up for sale right now.
Oh, it is.
It's interesting that it's a different building. They have like multiple tenants, and they have a big yard, but Wall Township doesn't want cars parked overnight, so
Yeah.
like that yard diminishes some of its use because unfortunately the township
Doesn't want you to use it.
realize that people need to park their trucks.
Yeah, that would be useful for them, right?
Here we
Yeah.
are. Route 70. Everybody wants it to be beautiful, even though everybody's going 60 miles an hour as they pass it.
All right, they're not paying attention
So,
to what it looks like.
So now, how's the agents? How's how are some of the agents in your office, feeling about this? Are they?
Well, honestly, in our office, this is something that we've been on the front lines of since we first heard about it 8 months ago.
Yeah.
So everybody in the office is doing relatively well with it,
Good.
just because we've been on the front lines of it, like I said. So it's been good to see that, and it's crazy when you go out and you talk to some other agents and other
other
offices,
firms,
and
yep.
they basically are. I don't know. Some people don't talk about it. They're just like, we'll deal with it when it comes, or
It's here.
It's here and it's happening, and it's something that we're gonna have to deal with. So,
Yep.
like I've been saying, I think it's a good
Yep.
opportunity for people who are active and ready and are gonna embrace the change.
And now, are you finding a lot? You said you're working with some first-time home buyers. Like,
Right.
are people motivated to like the young buyers?
Yeah,
Are
a
they
lot
there?
of them are, because I'm sure when you were younger, it made sense to rent in some case if you were gonna be for your first home. Now,
I never liked the idea of rent. I was like,
I don't either.
I was like,
but-
I want to own, because again, I was taught early on about the tax benefits. I was taught about
Right.
equity and paying down the mortgage and selling it for profit.
Absolutely.
So I learned that early on. So I never, besides in college, I never rented. I always had owned something.
Well, smart. But today it doesn't even make sense.
I
'cause
saw a rent the other day in Bayville for $3,800.
I just closed on a house yesterday, and it's a condo in Aberdeen. It's a 1-bed, 1-bath with a den, 807 square feet. It's going to rent for $2,700 a month. Okay, $2,700 a month. You can mortgage something for less than that
That's insane.
for a 1-bed, 1-bath home. Now that's in Aberdeen, so it's a little bit more up north. It's close to the city and stuff like that, so it's a little bit more expensive. But still, 1-bed, 1-bath, $2,700
Wow.
for rent. So my thing is with
Those are great economics for the investor.
for the investor, it's fantastic. Yeah, he's got a couple in there now, so he's enjoying it.
So he's going to make 32, almost 32 grand, roughly 32,000 in rent.
Yep,
And what do you pay for it?
$345. Yeah,
He's got a 10% cap rate.
yep. Then he's got another one that he paid $260 for that
And
he
he's
gets
getting the same.
$2,600 for.
Wow, good for
Yeah,
him.
right?
Good
Yeah,
for
so-
your investor.
That's a good one, and it's definitely a good investor complex.
Yeah,
you could
that's
say.
perfect.
Yeah, but to circle back to what we were talking about, for the first time buyers now, a lot of them are realizing it doesn't make sense to go rent. They're realizing like, okay, I'm going to go spend $2,700 a month, and then after the year, I have nothing to show for it.
Yep. Now, what is I know Martone will make sure that you know this answer, and
Of
if he
course.
sees this, he'll make me pull it down if you don't get it right. But for approximately how much is the purchase price for a $2,700 mortgage?
Roughly, it depends on your rate
Roughly
and
with
stuff
the
like
tax,
that.
the rate,
Yeah.
and your insurances. I understand that, but ballpark, is it a $400,000 house?
I would say it's closer to $3.
Okay.
And I could say it like this: my mortgage is $2,400 a month,
Okay.
and I bought my house for just under $300,000.
Okay.
So, yeah,
So thereabouts.
right in that ballpark.
Good. I mean, but I'd rather own something.
Absolutely, because think about it, after my year of making my $2,400 payment every month, I gained $50,000 in equity.
Yep.
And
you wrote off another.
and I wrote off all my the taxes that I pay on my mortgage,
Yep.
right, for the insurance.
So
That's a win right there. If I were to rent at $2,400 a month, I'd be now looking for a new rental,
and your rent might go up,
and my rent would probably go up.
and you really have no say on that.
I
And
can't.
if the landlord wants to sell the building, you're also out.
You're also out. That's right. That's right. So it makes it a little tough when you're going to rent.
Yep.
So that a lot of first-time buyers are becoming wise to that. Obviously, there's exceptions to every rule, and some people will still go rent and kind of deal with it. But I think a majority of people now are waking up, so to speak, to the financial benefits of real estate.
Another quick question: where are they? Like, I've always said that Brick and Tom's River, and they're very crowded, and there's not a lot, and their prices are higher.
Yeah.
Are people going a little more south, like by
Absolutely.
Forked River and Lenoka and
That's exactly what I did.
Barnegat?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I bought a house in Lenoka Harbor because I couldn't afford one in Brick.
I think that's a great move for young people.
It really is, and honestly, that area.
They probably could go west too, a little bit too.
A lot of people are going to the Browns Mills area, out to Jackson. A lot of people are going down south, like I said, to Forked River, Barnegat,
I think that's a great place.
Little Lake
And
Harbor.
I feel like I said this on record before, but I feel like Forked River is Brick of 20 years ago.
100% agreed. You
And
took the words right out of my mouth.
I also think, and I know from a number of guys, yourself included, there's a bunch of guys that are in their late 20s, early 30s that are buying in these neighborhoods. So there are a bunch of business owners that are now living, and they're the same guys that were 20, 25 years ago doing this in Brick.
Absolutely.
I think it's going to be that area. My only concern for that whole area is the infrastructure. There's not a lot of roads to make that happen.
Route 9 is rough, honestly. Route 9, the single lane, that's a little tough. So,
but I don't know how you make it better.
That's a question for somebody above my pay grade. But
I went down to Barnegat for a grand opening for one of our clients a couple Saturdays ago, and man, the traffic. I usually never use the parkway on a Saturday in the summer because of the turnovers, but in this case I had to go, and it was tough. I mean, getting from 82 down to 67 was tough. Mm-hmm. What's after Barnegat? Like, what's a little more south of there? Is there more places to kind of pick up?
People are going down to Little Lake Harbor.
Little Lake Harbor, right.
People like it down there because you can get waterfront property relatively cheap, and people like that at the moment.
I mean, who doesn't want to live?
Yeah, who doesn't want to live on the water, right? But those are some pretty popular areas right now. Little Lake Harbor, Barnegat, Forked River. I think that's where I have 3 transactions going on in those.
That's
neighborhoods
great,
right
though.
now.
It's great that. So, are you working out of the Barnegat office or the Brick office?
I go back and forth. Really depends on what I have going on for the day, or if I'm showing houses down south, I'm just gonna go to Barnegat and bounce down there.
I think there's a lot of opportunity down there.
There really is. There's a lot of there's a lot of turnover happening. There's a lot of 55 and older developments in Barnegat, and there's a lot. And I think the population of Barnegat is like 60% 55 and older. But they don't all live in the 55 and olders. So right now they're selling their houses and moving into the 55 and olders, which brings the opportunity for the first-time buyers and everything like that to
It's going to be great down there.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
I should look at an investment property down there at some point.
Yeah,
I want to open a wingman in that Lacey Township area.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of people. I think that there's a lot of traffic that is coming into that area.
Absolutely, there is.
It's on my mind, and then it's not on my mind. It dips in and out. You know, when I'm busy here, I'm like, well, I gotta put someone down there. I gotta go down there. We gotta figure that out. But logistically, I think it's a good fit in the expansion.
I agree, and it really reminds me right now. Like my neighborhood reminds me of like Brick. A little bit after Sandy, when everything was starting to get built back, where there's some little bungalow shacks and then there's other just ginormous mansion houses.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's like you could see the turnovers happening, and there's less and less bungalows, small ranches.
Do you find a lot of people from the city coming down?
Yes and no. Honestly, I see a lot of the people like we were talking about before, like shuffling around Monmouth and Ocean. But I can't say that I don't see people from the city coming down, because I definitely do.
You definitely see the New York plates, the Bennies.
Yeah, they're Bennies.
I used to be a Benny, so I'm allowed to say.
Yeah, you're not though. You've been established on the shore long enough that you're no longer a Benny.
You know, for a while I had the New York plates when I first got here because I didn't know if I was staying. But I'm not moving back. I was in New York last week. I was in Long Island last week. I'm not moving back.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm here for the long run until
I
sell the businesses, and then I don't. Then I think maybe somewhere totally different. But
we'll somewhere warm in a nice climate. Yeah. For sure.
That's awesome. So this is great. I love to see what you're doing, man. I love
Thank you.
I love that you're expanding. I love that you're doing stuff. I love the videos and keep putting them out.
Thank you.
Again, not to tell you to do a wingman service, but I'd also think about a landing page to put all your stuff.
No,
you have
100%.
a lot of content, and again, there's a lot of people that follow you on Insta, and there's a lot of people that look at your TikTok. But a one kind of repository to just get your name out there, and also I think people will start searching on your name, and at some point you got to talk to Pops about if you could get your own Google business listing, because I think that would help you tremendously.
Absolutely, and those are all in the works. I think I've chatted with you about the idea of the landing page,
it's something simple. It's something that our guys could pop up. But my thought is, it's got a video, it's got a little excerpt of what the video is. But like when you're on here, if you're on another podcast, or you do a video like a Keshev feature, you can throw so that people get to see you, and then also you could probably even throw on some pictures like with you and the kids, because you're a real guy. You're an everyday guy. You have 2 children. Congratulations on the newborn.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And just so that they could see this is who you're dealing with. This is who you're buying.
Absolutely. You're not just buying some random salesman. It's you're working with the person.
You're buying a guy that lives in Lenoka Harbor, that has an office in Brick and Barnegat.
Yeah.
You know the area. You know the market.
Thank you. Yeah. I think that's a really good idea.
So
we'll have to talk a little bit more about
definitely. So have a great day. Thanks for coming on. Let people know where to find you now that we talked about your socials.
That's cool. Instagram is real estate with JT _ TikTok real estate with JT. Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you having me on.
You bet.
You got it.